I'm not a well-behaved woman. I just don't see the point. My son says I've got issues with authority, but I assure you I generally follow all the rules because I'm the one that always gets caught, even when I'm not doing anything wrong. Like this. I was at the end of a 4-year hitch, less than 90 days left to go in the Army. I'd done well. I was a buck sergeant at the age of 22. But I was getting out. I was done with this stuff. And I'd bought myself a beautiful watch to commemorate the end of my military service. It was late summer in southern Germany and the annual hot winds were blowing. I went outside, far away from the building with my fiancé to eat dinner on a picnic table. Life was good. All of a sudden, coming across, we see Butch the MP yelling at the top of his lungs. He's got one hand on his helmet, one hand on his holster, and he's coming across 100 yards yelling something at the top of his lungs, but we can't hear what because the hot winds are blowing his words behind him at 30 miles per hour. He gets up to us and yells, "You're under arrest. Stand up. Turn around now. Put your hands on the table." We bend over, legs shoulder width apart. He pats us down for weapons, and he pulls out the cuffs. And then he realizes there's 2 terrible criminals here, so he draws his weapon instead. "You're under arrest for failure to render proper respect to the colors." For the benefit of civilians, that means you didn't salute the flag at the right time. Are we the only ones this happens to? No. Everybody in the service operates under a different code of regulations and rules than civilians, so we all have stories like this, and we love to tell them. Please ask us. But back to my story. We're talking at the same time. We're saying, "Butch, Butch, we couldn't hear because the wind." And he's saying, "No, I'm here to defend the Constitution of the United States of America and defend the Uniform Code of Military Justice." And he takes us back into that field station, into the room of MPs, where there's activity and yelling and oh my godding, and they separate us immediately so we don't collude on our stories about eating dinner. A staff sergeant takes my statement on a typewriter, complete with carbon paper copy, and asks me very hopefully, "Do I have any distinguishing marks or scars that I would like to show him?" And finally, "Do I want a lawyer?" Yes. They release us to the custody of our lieutenant, who immediately releases us to the custody of our shift supervisor, who immediately calls to ascertain whether or not we still have a top secret clearance and can continue to work after this heinous crime. Yes.
Wow.
In fact, we had to finish our shift. We had to wait a month to see a military lawyer, but we became very famous during that time. No one had ever been arrested, so we got to tell our story outside by the campfire at night with lots of beer. And the rest of the soldiers kind of looked up to us, because nobody had ever been arrested, like older siblings. We knew about stuff. Finally, we got to tell our story to the military lawyer, and I was sorry it was so short, especially when he summarized it like this. "So, you're eating dinner, wind blows, you don't hear retreat?" Obviously, this guy failed to grasp the complexities of the situation. We had been out in the local German bars, and therefore we knew now that the hot winds were in fact a legal defense for temporary insanity in the case of murder in Germany. Surely this would cover a failure to salute, right? 2 weeks later, we get called into the battalion commander's office, and that's when I remembered. Fear isn't in the mind, it's in the body. I forgot to breathe and my knees were shaking. Despite the absurdity of this situation, the consequences were absolutely real. Would I be reduced in rank? Have to pay a fine? Receive a less than honorable discharge in a few weeks? would I have to return that watch? It was all up to the discretion of the commander, who said, "All right, come in, at ease. I have in my hand here an apology from the commander of the military police to me, the battalion commander of the linguists. All charges have been dropped. This closes the matter. Dismissed." I was so relieved it took me a few years of civilian life to realize that I was indignant about the fact that I got arrested and that guy got the apology. But you can see why I always followed rules. I could get arrested just eating dinner.